So you know what? We're about halfway through the year, and I can already say that I think the winner for most surprising figure of the year has to be this guy. It is the Siege Wave 2 Voyager class Air Commander Starscream, with a lot of custom paint apps in this case. And he's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, NL, and have a look for me everywhere across social media. And this is Starscream. And fresh in a package, he's great. Maybe a little too much battle damage on his legs, and on his chest, and on his forearms, and on the back of his wings. And while I think the battle damage is all right in his alt mode of a bit of a stylized Tetrajet, I didn't like it in his robot mode. So I have taken it upon myself to do some custom work here. I'll address it when we look at his colors a little closer. But even if you don't do that, he's pretty fantastic straight out of package and kind of a surprising delight along the way. I'll explain what I mean when we head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. Now, Starscream is just a Decepticon that's arrogant enough to come up here with one robot mode, one alt mode, and think that he's better than all the rest. Is he actually? Well, let's begin and take a look at his packaging first. And this is a box, as we've gotten for many of these Siege figures by now. We can turn it here on the side and we have a nice image of Starscream over here. It's fine. We have the product images on the back. Now, as you can see, he is definitely a highly stylized Tetrajet, but we'll talk about that a bit later. It's a packaging. The rest, the top, the bottom, this side, it's the same as we've seen all along on all the others. Dare I be so bold as to say that I still think that the instructions are actually good for once. And here we have the stats for the ever-dangerous Null Ray. As you can see, it's the first one I think that I've looked at yet that has a strength that's right at the very top. The accuracy, pretty high. The range, pretty high. Like I said, the ever-dangerous Null Ray. And here we have the Air Commander himself. And dare I say, it's time for classic Starscream to move aside because he's been replaced with a better representation of the character. This was one I did not even want to get again. And here we are. You can see I have a lot of custom work done with him. You see, I was perfectly content with this. My Fall of Cybertron Deluxe class Starscream stood as my Air Commander now, well, since this guy was released in 2012, I think it was 2012. And I can remember being so glad when I finally got Thundercracker and when I finally got Skywarp. And you know what? These are fantastic Seekers. I think that the Fall of Cybertron ones are better than the Classics ones. But I can't deny the fact that I really think that the Siege one in robot mode embodies the character better. Now, a lot of people used to say, while I touted the kind of good points of the Fall of Cybertron Deluxe class, a lot of people said, hey, Starscream should be a Voyager class. But see, Voyager, traditionally speaking, would have meant that Starscream was this big. And now I use Elita 1 here from the Power of the Primes line because she's basically like a remold, a reuse of the Power of the Primes Starscream, basically. I know, a lot of remolded parts, but they're mold siblings, let's say. And I felt like that this was still a bit too bulky, still a bit too big for Starscream. And while I've complained that the new Sieges are a bit smaller, I have to say that this looks good. There's a scale I can get behind. I mean, he's a little bit shorter than Megatron, but he's not kind of ridiculously short. Or if you're really into the Siege figures as a whole, here we have Starscream, Megatron, and Soundwave. All of them, to some degree or another, have had custom paint work done. By the way, I did a little while ago, I want to say episode 449, but don't hold me to it. I think it was 449. I talked about how you too can remove the battle damage. It takes some work, and you gotta know what you're doing, but you can certainly get it off, as I did here with Megatron. Speaking of customization, what can we say here about Starscream? Well, I didn't actually remove any of the battle damage from Starscream. He did have a little smudge on his chin where he had some missing silver paint, so I added the silver paint on his chin. Which was difficult because I didn't want to paint over like let's say the chin strap that's black, but actually on the silver on his face was missing a little spot down in the lower left side, so I added to that. Then I came to his chest and I considered trying to take the battle damage off, but then I said, you know what, this is red. I might just be able to paint this over, and I did a mix, and I've done the same thing with Optimus. So if you have parts on Optimus to repaint, listen to what I'm about to tell you. Get yourself some Tuscan red and get yourself some bright red. Use mostly Tuscan red, mix it with a little bit of bright red, just a little bit. Probably use a dampened brush and start putting very thin layers just over the silver. The silver will shine through the first couple of layers and you'll say, hey, that's looking pretty pink. But if you keep applying a few layers, eventually it will look red, and it is the same red as the plastic. But you got to mix that just right. The bright red by itself, a little too light. The Tuscan red by itself, a little too dark. But both of them together on very thin layers, it goes on, and it's actually quite durable. I would also use a gloss. That's what I did, and it's not rubbing off. It's a couple of very thin layers that are on there. They dried just fine. Then we come to the lower legs. On the lower legs, I also did not remove the paint because doing so would have stripped off some other paint that was there. Most notably, this blue here anyway. So I said, you know what? I'm going to mix a gloss white and a gloss gray, and more gray than white in this case, and I'm going to just paint those areas over, and then these little intakes down right here I painted silver. Then we had the blue left, and Starscream Fiance looked at the blue that was stock and said, that's a little too like teal, there's a little teal tinge to it. Now it was fine in a package, even though there was a lot of battle damage. The guy was slathered in it. But I painted it over with a sky blue, and she said, no, that's too bright. His is more of an indigo type of color. So I chose a bit of a deeper blue, closer to an indigo, and painted it over again. Again, it was a very, it was very thin layers that went on. The blue in this case was not a gloss blue, it was what's called a shiny blue. And I'll even tell you, it was, if you know the paint brand Folk Art, it was a Folk Art shiny blue. And I'm telling you, it went on in very nice thin layers, again using a damp brush and a number of coats, and it went on and it looks beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now I did leave the battle damage on his plain mode because I'm okay with it there. Then, finally, after doing all that blue, I had one thing left to do. His wings had red just here along the lower edge. I wanted more because the red continues up his wing. So that same red that I used on his chest, that mix of that bright red and that Tuscan red, I took a toothpick and continued it up the side here. And then I took another toothpick, and there's like a molded ridge going along and up. I took another toothpick and I used white, and I just pulled it along that edge and up the edge, and he has his red line now and his white line, and I don't think anything more could be done with the guy to make him quintessentially Starscream. So out of package, he was easily a 9.5 for looking like Starscream and capturing the character. Now it's a 10. It's absolutely a 10 to me. If you have something else I could do to make this more accurate, please let me know, but I don't think I'm seeing it. What about the guy's articulation? Well, his articulation is actually second to none, shockingly. First and foremost, his head can go left and right. It can look up and down. Actually, it can look way up by right and down. The arms can go well out to the side. They can go really all the way around. If you get the wing out of the way, you can bring the arm all the way around. And yes, the wings do bend all the way back straight. They can bend all the way down. Like they can bend up like this. There's a lot of mobility on the wings. We have a bicep swivel. We have a double jointed elbow that gets you an extremely deep bend. We have wrist swivel. We have a waist on the guy. We have legs that go all the way forward. They can go well back. If you get some of the kind of kibble out of the way here, it can go all the way back. We have a thigh swivel. He can, how well can he do the splits? I want to say very, very well. Yeah, he can do the splits very, very well. Thigh swivel, if I didn't say it. And it's like built inside of his thigh. Like, I guess it's a mushroom peg, but it's built inside of his thigh as best as I can tell. It's genius. The knee bend, well, we go here to the back of his leg, and like there's a spring-loaded piece here, so that when you bend his knee, it doesn't stop at just 90 degrees. You bring that in, and like, come on, man. Come on. He does have ankle tilt. One of my ankles does not like to stay tilted. This one over here, I think it's just screwed in a little bit too tight. We have heel that can come forward. We have a toe that can tilt down. It's for transformation, but he can do it. Honestly, I don't think there's anything else I could want. I'm honestly going to say that his articulation is a 10. Absolutely a 10. Then we get to the transformation. I'm going to take the null rays off. Just because. You'll notice too that when we went through stuff, I didn't show the null rays separately. They're null rays. I don't need to show them separately as far as I'm concerned, because they're almost seamlessly a part of him. Okay, the conversion, not hard. And while a lot of this guy's really a shell former, he's an interesting shell former. So we begin by, oh, by the way, he also has a butterfly hinge. It's for transformation, really, but he does have a bit of a shoulder butterfly. Like, come on. Good night, nurse. We come here and we begin by picking off his, I guess, shoulder pylons. There's a little red tab in here. It goes into like a red hole down here and a red hole down here. You pick that off and you just sort of like leave this off for the moment. We take his waist and we will turn that around. Then we take the kind of shoulder pylon sections and we bring it down and we bring it down, and we should, now that we have those down, be able to tab the nose sections together. Like that. And we can take the head and push it back. Now there's a tab in here. I'm not really sure the point of that tab. I'm sure it has a point that I just haven't discovered. Don't care. I haven't used it so far. Don't really need it. So, I don't know. I'm sure it has something to do with the transformation. But, I don't know. I haven't really found a need for it, but I fold the head back. I fold it back that far, so do what you like. Then we come to the chest, and we pick it off. Now, this is where there's been a lot of controversy with this guy. A lot of people say that this chest flap just pops off if you just look at it the wrong way. Mine's not so bad. Like, I can pick my Starscream up and shake him by it and it doesn't come off. It will, however, I'm not going to pretend that it will not pop off. It will at a particular juncture. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We come to the arms and we open them out. We fold the hand up, we collapse the arm, we fold it back in. We do the same on the other side. We will, I can do it, open the arm out, fold the hand up, collapse the arm, and fold it back in. Why is this one not folding in? Oh, because I didn't have the hand straight. That's the other thing. When you do that, you gotta make sure the hand is straight. You can angle those arms down like that for now. You will notice that we have, where is it? Not there. Right here, we have two little slots. Those two little slots will slot in somewhere when the time is right. Okay, then we come to these legs here, and we close up the toes and the heels, and we bring this leg up. Now when we bring this leg up, what we have is, see if I can explain this. We have a little tab here and a little tab here that goes into a rectangular slot here and here in a gray piece. It can be a little hard to see and line up, so I'm going to do it and then we'll take it from there. Now this was why I wanted to kind of do that first. You got to push the shin or the calf into the leg, and then you'll notice two little tabs here and two little slots here. These two little slots will go on over these two little tabs and snap in so that he looks like this. So as you can see, the whole body sort of squishes up underneath like this. We bring down the nose cone section, and then we bring down the wings. And when we bring down the wings, here's where things get a little bit interesting. There's a little gray tab here and a little gray tab back right here. And those little gray tabs are supposed to lock in under the chest piece on two little red, I guess, openings. But this is when this likes to pop off on mine. So it's supposed to, like, stock, it's supposed to, and see it popped off there. Stock, it's supposed to like look like this from behind, with the whole chest piece here and this piece here and his feet thrusters right there, and that's fine and dandy. It's not what I do, so I'm just going to put the chest piece back on and show you what I do. So even without having the chest piece locked in, it still mostly maintains the Tetrajet look just fine. Like it, you know, for display purposes, it's fine, and it saves you the headache of having that piece, you know, pop off. Or you can do what I do. And if we look at them from front on, I personally like to leave the wings up a little bit like this. To me, it just, having the wings up a bit, I know it sort of exposes the robot underneath, but it looks a little more Tetrajet-ish, or sorry, it looks a little more jet-ish to me. I can come here and I can place a null ray under that wing, and I can come over here and place a null ray under this wing and have them face out thusly, and like, I'm okay with this. Yeah, I get it, it's not for everybody, but like, to me it still maintains like a jet look, and I think that makes this alt mode okay for me. So where do we stand with that transformation? Honestly, there's a couple of tolerance things that concern me, like that chest popping off is a nuisance. There's the way that these pylon pieces tab into the back. I worry about the longevity of those tabs. Mine seem fine, but I have heard of people having stress marks on the red tabs. So there are a couple of issues like that that I wonder about, you know, the longevity over a long time, over many conversions. For just display, he's perfect. For play, he's great, but I would bear those concerns in mind. With my alternate transformation, leaving the wings kind of out, the chest really doesn't have to tab into anything, so it will probably stay on better. There are certain tolerances that perhaps aren't being pushed to their limit as much. Even in terms of tabbing these arms on, they're really tight on my copy to tab on. Really tight. So I tend to just leave them by his side because the shoulder joints are strong enough to hold the arms in place anyway, rather than tab them on tightly, even though you're supposed to. I would say overall the transformation is about a 7.5. It's good, but there's a couple of things that make me a little uneasy. He was a 10. 7.5 for the transformation. Overall, the guy is about an 8.75. He is good, there's no doubt about it. The way the pylons transform is ingenious, having them flip down the body. It's fantastic, it's something unique to do with them. The false chest doesn't really bother me, don't really care, because the silhouette is so quintessentially Starscream, like I said before. Here's the thing, 8.75, but his articulation is better than the classics. His scaling, whether you're using just Generations figures or whether you're going specifically for Siege, his scaling is better, his silhouette is better, his detailing is better. Everything about this is better than the classics. Everything about this, honestly, is better than the FOC, even though I love the FOC. Is this a perfect Starscream? Is there still room for improvement? Yeah, probably a little room for improvement. But this is leaps and bounds in the right direction for what a Starscream should be. And honestly, I think, even with the couple of imperfections that are here, that they will be hard-pressed to do a better one. If they could take this sort of robot silhouette and give it the Earth plane mode, that's about the only way, I think, to pull it off. And here we are once again, and by now you know why this guy surprised me. He has almost limitless articulation. I mean, I knew it was good. I didn't know it was this good. His conversion, yes, it might have elements of being a shell former, but the fact that you can kind of do what you like custom-wise with these wings and sort of leave them splayed out as much as you want sort of makes it all right with me, because it retains a little bit more of a plain look. The Tetrajet look, it's all right. But I think I prefer the wings out a bit. Now, that's just me. You know by now what I did to kind of make his coloring more accurate, but now it's an easy 10 out of 10. It is undoubtedly Starscream. The mixing of the two reds on the chest works tremendously well. I've done it with Prime as well. And it's the color. It's the color. The blue, yeah, okay, I went through a couple of blues, and I did have a brighter one on here. Starscream Fiance wanted me to have the darker one on here, and I'm kind of happy with this darker one. The most, I guess, the trickiest part was doing these wings with the extra red and then the line of white. Toothpick was the perfect thing to use there, no doubt. But I look at this now, and I think it's quintessentially Starscream. Yes, perhaps there are certain things stylized, especially the alt mode, but I don't think that there's any way you can look at this alt or look at this robot mode and say that it's anything other than quintessential. I don't know if there's a way to do the robot mode better, but that's just me. Let me know what you think about Starscream. I think he is an absolute diamond in the rough and turned out to be a gem, enough that I can't wait now to get Thundercracker and the inevitable Skywarp. You know, I appreciate you dropping by and giving me some of your very valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.